Hi and welcome back to our chess lesson series. In our last episode we discussed the significance of the center, and today we want to continue to go deeper into this topic. And for this reason I have brought a very recent game, Hrant Melkomyan against Ivanov. Both players are grandmasters and this game took place in a rapid tournament. However, it is, as I believe, very instructive, and you will learn how to use the center to attack your opponent if your opponent gives you the center. So let's go and start with the game. White plays first e4, black plays d6, d4, and black plays e5. White decides that he doesn't want to exchange queens. If white wanted to, he could already do this, and black cannot castle here. However, it should be mentioned that when the queens are off the board, the attacking potential of both sides is not as big as with queens. So therefore, castling here isn't such a big deal for both sides. However, black should watch out not to get mated. Still, there are enough pieces for a mating attack. So white goes for knight f3, black plays knight c6, bishop to b5, bishop d7, and white castles. Here, black decided to go bishop to e7, and now we will see a very interesting strategy by white, because as you can see, the pawns here are all on black squares. So naturally, white wants that black keeps his black squared bishop here, which is rather weak because the own pawns are in the way. Therefore, white plays d5, forcing black to move the knight. The knight goes to b8, and for reasons we have already discussed, white decides to trade the white squared bishops. Of course, black recaptures with the knight to redevelop it again, because on b8 it's not really strong. And now white plays c4. Now white already has a slightly better position. However, black comes up with a not so good plan. He plays h6, intending to play bishop to g5, trying to exchange the bishops. White develops or continues development with knight to c3. Black plays bishop g5, and white decides to take with the knight, and after h takes g5, the structure of black is damaged. So black tried to exchange some pieces and also gave up the center. He has less space in the center and has also a damaged pawn structure. White continues by attacking this pawn on g5 twice, and it's only defended once, so white is forcing black to give up some time to defend the pawn, and f6 looks like the only move here to defend the pawn. Now bishop to e3. Now white has finished his development. The rooks are connected, the queen is already on g4, and as you can see here, this is a very instructive moment, because the only reason white plays queen g4 is to attack this pawn and force black to react with f6. This way, white makes sure that he is attacking a pawn, forcing black to react while also developing the queen, and he wants some time. The white player wants some time. Bishop to e3. Now black plays a6. White continues with b4. And now you can see that black has less space on the queen side here, and also in the center, these squares here. So white is naturally trying to advance where he is strong. Queen to e7 played. Black tries to prevent the pawn push c5 for the moment, because this square is covered 3 times now by black, while it would be only defended twice if white advanced the pawn. So here black would win a pawn, which is not very pleasant for white. Still, this position shouldn't be too bad for white. Instead, rook f to c1 was played by Melkumyan, by the white player. Now, knight h6 attacking the queen, and the queen just goes back. An alternative, maybe even a little bit stronger, is queen h5 check, forcing a move like queen to f7 if black doesn't want to move the king, and then retreating the queen to e2. Another move was possible too, this one here, but still queen to e2, and white has a very nice position. So white played queen to e2 immediately without checking on h5 and still has an advantage. Now black must play f5 in order to try to gain or minimize the control of white in the center and on the king side. Here a possible continuation would be e takes f5 and knight takes f5. White is still better, but not as much as in the game. And something very interesting here is that a move like f3 is already not so good for white, because after f4 it is actually black who is fighting for an advantage. Black is going to be able to put the rook and the queen on the king side and pose some threats to the white queen, very unpleasant for the white player. However, in the game, black decided to go g6 and maybe preparing f5. However, now white is very fast. White plays c5 and now f5 followed. But this time, white is not really worried about anything on the king side, because he has the very strong c6 move. Now, not only the knight on d7 is hanging with check. This means if it was white's turn, he would just grab the knight with check. And if the knight moves, the b7 pawn is hanging, so move like this, and this pawn is gone. Not only this, the rook cannot move to a7 because of promotion and other reasons. So this position is completely lost for the black player. Therefore, black played the forced move b takes c6, capturing the pawn, and white took the pawn. And now you might think that white weakened his control over the center because he grabbed the c6 pawn with his d5 pawn. However, by doing so, he enables the knight to jump to d5, and this is going to be very unpleasant for the black player. Knight to f8 played, and now comes the move we talked about a moment ago, knight to d5. The queen has to move, and now white plays f3, and black is not in time. He is not going to attack the king fast enough. Black plays f4, bishop to f2, knight g8, and now white continues playing where he is strong. His idea is to create a passed pawn by pushing his b pawn to b6 and forcing black to take there, and we will see this idea in one moment. Knight to e6, still black is not really developed, and white is trying to push his pawn as mentioned. Rook takes a1, so some pieces are exchanged, but as you can see, black is suffering from less space and the inferior development. Knight to f6, now white takes on f6, queen takes f6, and b6. And this creates the passed pawn. After c takes b6, there's rook a8 check, very unpleasant. Then follows king to f7, and unfortunately for white, this rook here is defended. However, this is no problem because white has the very strong rook to a7 check. And after king g8, white has the even stronger queen to c4. Now, this knight is pinned, but not only this. Also, this pawn is going to be promoted, and black cannot really do anything about this or against it because the rook is controlling the 7th rank. A brilliant game by Hrant Melkomyan, where he displays the power of the center, the nice advance on the queen side, and in the end a position where black doesn't really have a good move and is forced to resign. I hope you like this lesson. The center is a very important motive in chess, especially on a lower level. Therefore, I would suggest you to continue with this video next. See you in the video. Bye.